All right, well, it is 8:01. And so we'll go ahead and get started. This is going to be the first series of 4. We've been asked to give a little deeper dive into the Streamline Ag portfolio. And so we're going to have 4 of these live events. These live events will be recorded so that you'll be able to access them anytime. A link will be sent out in the future so that you can go back to them and review them. So from a taking notes perspective, this will be available later. We will use the chat feature for you to submit any questions you have, and at the end we'll have the opportunity to just have a general discussion and answer questions that come in. And then I would ask everyone that has joined this morning to go ahead and mute their lines if they can, so that we don't pick up background noise since this is being recorded. So today, the topic is building the foundation. And so we're going to focus on the products in the portfolio and really dive in on managing crop residue and managing nitrogen. Today we have a couple guest speakers. Myself, I'm Paul Conrad, the Managing Director of Streamline Ag. And then we've got Rob McClelland, who's joining us this morning. He's a specialist in the sales and marketing area and also has a very keen understanding of the products in the portfolio. And then Taylor Janicek is also joining us. And Taylor is a technical sales specialist that many of you know and have interacted with. And she's also going to share background on these products as well as some of the technical aspects of them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob and Taylor and let them begin the presentation.
Well, good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. We're going to go quick. We got about an hour together. Thank you for your time. Here's our agenda. We're going to focus on 2 things: residue release and NCase. Our strategy here, though, is going to be the why, how we can help. Whoever's speaking, maybe if you that would be great. So we're going to go through some trends in residue and nutrient tie-up. We're going to talk about the cost of not managing residue. We're going to go over a little bit of a market overview and competitive insights I think you'll all like. We're going to talk about a really deep dive into the technical, some of the data of residue release.
Never mind.
We're going to do some common questions.
Yeah, I was having trouble, but it just now turned on. Are you on it?
And then the NCase nitrogen.
Okay, we'll see. Bye.
We're going to go quick. Here's our objective. Here's what we hope you get for giving us an hour of your time. I think it comes down to the word confidence. And you all are world-class seedsmen and women. And today, we want you to gain confidence in discovering needs and positioning the benefits of residue release and NCase to grow your Streamline sales and increase the opportunity of performance in each Rob Seco hybrid and variety you sell. Okay. That's why, that's the promise we want to give to you for the hour you're spending. And we're going to kind of work it that way. And that's what we're going to try to do. Just to get our heads going, we want to put this up here. Planning starts at harvest. I know we have people from everywhere from Texas to North Dakota, it looks like, on this call. I apologize for not having any, for Mr. Baxter and others. I don't have any sorghum or cotton pictures in here, but we will definitely lean on Chris Reet, who's on the call too, as our Southern specialist. But yeah, as soon as that combine or harvester goes through the field, we're going to start this conversation. We have 2 things that we can help prepare and get the most nitrogen in the plant. So we call this building the foundation. It's part of this every pass. I want to hit this. One of the things we want to do, and why we think Streamline fits so well with your seed business, Obviously, the more times you can be on the farm, asking relevant business and agronomic questions and bringing something of value, the more dollars per relationship you guys can achieve in the country. So we call
Oh,
this
so now
path
you're a
along.
sales trainer,
Sure. I'll
huh?
play.
Really?
So, this, right here in the fall, hopefully you've got all the early pay in, and hopefully you've got some time to go back out here and position residue release and NCase. Now, where I live here, I'm about an hour north of Columbus, Ohio. It looks like we're going to have a really long extended fall. And as I talk to friends across the Midwest, and as we go west, the main thing they want is a drink of water. But it looks like we could have a very extended fall season, at least in the Midwest and upper Midwest. Trends drive. So let's get into some trends. Four things. So who cares about residue? I mean, so what? Is a question. I think there's 4 reasons. And the crazy thing about each of these 4 reasons is they all link back to selling hybrid seed corn or other seed. I'll be using corn as a proxy for you have more specialty crop background, Taylor, than I do. And Chris, hang in there. I may need you on the cotton piece, but I'm going to be using corn a lot today, if that's okay. Things that are happening out here that have made this a unique discussion is population and yields, the dramatic increase in minimum till, no-till, late season plant health, and a lot of corn breeders are building stronger stocks. I grew up selling seed for funks and then Ciba-Geigy, and we used to go out and talk about yield, standability, and dry down. I think the standability message is really important. Okay, so real quick, you've seen these numbers, population and yield over time. We've got to push population to get yield. Look at these states right here. Look at these are the darker the state, the more no-till or minimum till is. That's going to increase more government programs, more trash, more chance for pinning. Fungicide use is up double digits every year. Look at that green corn. We're going to have big green corn out there late. It's going to create a heck of a mat and cause lots of trouble for planting. And then a lot more weather events, the derechos, all that stuff. We got to have short corns coming. Those things look like they're the stalks the size of a fence post out there, some of these hybrids. So we got to break them down. And we're going to learn later, corn lignin has the same half-life as wood. It could take almost 100 years to break some of this down. So I ask you this rhetorically, please put it on chat. When you think about those 4 trends, what hybrids or varieties are you selling that have really good standability, good plant health, and that thrive in higher populations? So what I'm trying to do here is I want you to go out and tell your seed story and weave in how residue release is going to be a part of optimizing that hybrid's performance. So Streamline doesn't seem like it's, kind of an add-on, but more of an integrated conversation.
I think you guys get that the main investment a grower makes every year is his seed. So what can you do with this Streamline portfolio to enhance that they're already making that huge investment in? So if you're looking at seeding population right after planting, we really have to guarantee that we're getting everything up that we already invested in.
Absolutely. So what's the cost of not? So again, somebody playing the sales trainer piece. Yeah, I've done a lot of that. And I've learned also that, people believe none of what you say, half of what they read, everything they tell you. So we need to look at some third party. Also, I've learned that the fear of loss is 10 times greater than the excitement of opportunity in terms of motivation. So let's turn this thing on its head. What's the cost of not managing residue? And then what's the nutritional opportunity? So the cost is really too much residue and not a proper seed bed. Comes down to money. John Deere says it's 14% yield reduction if you have a skip and 2.5 feet a row. I was on 100 farms in the year 2022 so far. And I tell you what, there's a lot of skips. even with the most fancy planters and the most fancy row cleaners, there's skips. You can find them. It's a great thing to go do. And those skips and uniform spacing, most people will agree it's 2 to 5 bushels.
Well, not even just spacing, but also emergence. If we're a day delayed, that can be the difference of 10 bushel, $7 corn today, that's $70. That's real money.
So let's get out there and look at these skips. There is an entire webinar recording out here of these two gentlemen, Dr. Fred Belo and Dr. Connor Sybil. They've actually done multi-year research on biologicals, microbes, enzymes, humic acids, plant extracts, and they have spent a ton of time on the value of corn stover specifically. Paul can send that link out as well. You can watch the entire thing, but I'm going to spend just a minute on some of their data, because I think you need to ask the question, I think everybody knows there's value in the corn stock, especially, but just how much? Can we put a number on it? Bob, how much value do you think is in that stover? And if you can get it faster, let's talk about it. So for every 43.7 pounds of residue per acre, and then I'm just going to jump right into here because it's about the money. So in every ton of residue, according to University of Illinois, multi-year research, there's 20 pounds of N, 4 pounds of phos, and 23 pounds of K. All right, that's a lot. So if you can get that faster than your neighbor and use the most efficient product, which is residue release, to get it faster, you can help your guys make money. The other thing on the end, and you can see that in the full recording from below, the N is cycled back from corn stalks and other stover, anything with a carbon backbone, as NH4 ammonia. It's the most readily available, most stable, least mobile form of nitrogen. So you can look at that at your leisure. If you guys have a book, I encourage you to take some of this out there. It brings it back to the pound. So 250 bushel corn crop. Now, some of you might think that's too high. Some of you are 300. Some of these dryland areas, I know it's a lot lower. But on a 250 bushel corn crop, we're looking at 114 pounds of N per acre, 23 pounds of phos, 131 pounds of K. So if we can move that faster into the next crop, it really helps.
I think the important thing too, you guys take soil samples and you go look across the country. I've traveled from Michigan to Utah, and potassium, boron, and zinc. Those 3 nutrients are always depleted on our soil samples. And it also comes down to our root proximity zone. If our plant can't touch it and that nutrient isn't soluble, it doesn't count for that crop.
Absolutely. And that below piece talks about how you push populations, you actually get a smaller root piece. So it's really cool to listen to Dr. Belo. Great point. The other things you'll see in that Belo piece, he makes the claim through research and data in a lot of states that the nutrients being cycled through a product like residue release or from your stover is 3 times higher value than synthetic chemical fertilizers in terms of solubility and availability. So that is an exciting conversation. So let's talk about where these things came from before we jump in. A product that manages residue and nutrients and breaks them down is probably, the untreated acres, the #1 opportunity. But the segment is really, really growing. So let's talk about where these microbes came from and what they're all about and why it matters. So microbials, these microbes that are being used in this space were developed in the oil and gas industry. And they found microbes in really, really cold parts and really, really low oxygen parts of the world. And they found out they could actually break down oil or carbon. That's when they were first identified. And then a lot of smart people, Dr. James White out of Rutgers is the person I always cite for the really, really technical person that thinks this is snake oil. We can really prove that these bacilluses, pseudomonases, and fungi, and even archaea at some point actually do have a mode of action. And the big thing is who can get them alive to the target and keep them alive. That is the point that we want to really drive home. So the tech is real. The bugs can stand a lot of low temperatures and low oxygen environments. Now, the other thing, I didn't know where to throw this in, but I really like it. For those of you that are going to be terminating cover crops, this product is fantastic in the spring as well. We'll talk more about that in the next webinar, but from a spring application to terminate cover crops, residue release is fantastic. And cover crops are growing is what that slide said. So, all right, let's get down. So now we know why residue is increasing, and we can have a more in-depth conversation about it. 4 trends, right? Who cares? Well, because there's a lot of value in there. All right. Who cares again? Well, a lot of people can cycle that value. Why are you better? Why is Streamline better at this than somebody else? All right. So here's some products on the right. This category is emerging fast. And I'm a free market economist, and this category wouldn't be growing if it didn't work. Products that don't work don't grow, then don't get sold. And people like Nutrien, Wilbur Ellis, the Andersons don't enter product categories without a known understanding that there's opportunity. And they know whatever that opportunity is they can create at the farm, they want at least half. So you wouldn't be seeing this category grow if the technology wasn't effective. Okay, that should give you a lot of confidence. Now, why is residue release better, and how do we position to win? First of all, 95% of all acres aren't using any of these products. But when you are out there and this category grows, you got to have some bullets in your gun. So let's talk about them. The average market price for most of these is $10 an acre. Most of them are a gallon or 2 quarts per acre use rate. Most of them, if you read carefully, require nitrogen to work at their best. And usually they're saying 10 units, 5 to 10 units, if you read carefully. That puts them about at a 70 cent per unit of nitrogen cost, about 17 is where the market is. Most of these products on the right, if not all of them, refuse to list what microbes or how many colony forming units are actually in the product. Some do, some don't. Now, what I'd like to say is if somebody won't tell you what's in a product, why would you buy it? Why in the world would you come out and buy a product if somebody won't tell you what's in it? Everything in the Streamline portfolio has exactly what's in it in detail, always in the right same place on every tech sheet. And that's one way you want to do it. So we have more live cells per unit. We have more colony forming units. And the real story here comes down to the carrier system, which we're going to really dive into. You have a carrier system that keeps the microbes at 5.5 pH in solution, won't go up or down. You have a fulvic acid, a lot of carbon to feed these guys. You have a surfactant carrier system, 35% of the solution. And that carrier system is where the patent you all have licensed lives. And that carrier system allows you to get that corn stalk cuticle broke down and get those microbes in where the pH can change and those spores start to develop. So that's why we're different. Let's get even deeper. Here's your tech sheet. Use it. It's a great tech sheet. Here is our description of what I just said. What is the carrier system? That big long word right here is, we just say APG. It's too hard to say, alkyl polyglucoside, but it's a long chain carbon. In itself, that APG is the same product that people use to make surfactants, stickers, and spreaders, and also lipstick and makeup. the largest producer of it actually it's called AUI out of Cincinnati, right next to Procter and Gamble. Almost everybody that makes a surfactant buys APG from them. We have a chemist by the name of Brian Hashmeyer and Joe Ganowski and Luke Lovelace that said, hey, what if we use a carrier system? Because we had tried corn syrup, we tried some other things that had an actual surfactant base to it. So when those bugs, those microbes get there, they stick and penetrate. The big thing is when you're terminating cover crops or using this to burn down in the fall, you're going to get extra weed kill because the product in and of itself is a surfactant. Okay. The other thing that our chemistry team did that's pretty cool is they figured out how to get the pH buffering very, very stable. And they were able to disperse evenly these microbes in spore form, which we'll talk about, through the suspension and have a tremendously stable shelf life and product. The next field trip we do, we make this product. There's 18 ingredients to make it. We can only make about 6,000 gallons a day. It is a heated reaction every step of the way. This formula is world-class. It's better than any, but no one else has an 18 ingredient formula. And the reason it matters is it will have bugs alive, bugs on target, and you will chew more lignin and more carbon faster and more efficiently than the market. And we can prove that in many ways. So please understand that this part right here, this carrier system, is the patented, not proprietary, actual patent that you guys have licensed to carry these bugs to the carbon backbone target. Okay. Now, so what more? Why is it unique? Let's drive it home. We would deliver a very high level of spores. We're going to talk about what a spore is. A spore is a bacteria that is formed a certain way, and they're very hardened and they are good at being carried this way. We have gram-positive spores, which is, we can get into more in the formulation, highly resistant as a formulated product. These spores, when they start to breed, create enzymes that break down cellulose and lignin, two key components of breaking down plant matter. The absence of this microorganism is really pretty interesting because lignin has a similar half-life as wood. I think you guys all know this. You go out and dig and have their stocks in there from 3 years ago. So bacterial spores have other agronomic, improving plant nutrient availability, forming film on plant roots, and just helping with overall disease protection and vigor. So, but again, these spores carried in this solution, this carrier system is your unique selling proposition. All right, so to hit that a little bit harder, it's patent pending, improved shelf life. The surfactant cuts cuticle for faster breakdown, creates 10x increase in microbial survivability and productivity. We had DPH Biologics actually measure that for us. And it is, that's what you measure is the enzyme activity at the target produced by the microbes. And it eats residue from the inside out to cycle more nutrient to the profile. That's a key point. We were just out in North Texas showing this product to some folks who had it in cotton. And we were out with a guy in Missouri, and St. Joe said, hey, it didn't work. So we went out there, and he'd never walked the crop because when from the road, the carcasses of the corn stalks look good. But when you went out there and kicked them up or used a Resigage, which is a penetrometer with a blade on it, we can greatly reduce the strength of that stalk because the piths were gone. So you got to get out and walk these fields. And it's important that it cycles down because when you follow that down, that corn stalk, will show some pictures. It goes into the root ball. We have a potato grower that's extremely excited because they put potatoes after corn. And he didn't have any root balls to pick out of his potatoes because it eats its way down. So that inside out piece, you've got to get your head around and go out there and demonstrate it. Going really deep. So we've been challenged that we just don't have enough information to sell this. We need more data to believe how it works. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I think it's really cool. Companies that sell you one bug in a jug, like Pivot Bio, we'll get into that next time. It's really, from what Dr. White's saying and many other folks in the business, creating biological products that work come down to the carrier system and putting teams together. I love football. We used to talk about 1/11th. You know, we live here in Ohio where football is kind of a big deal. Each of these bacilluses have a specific reason for being in the consortium. Some of them have higher ability to withstand temperature, low temperature, and also being able to survive through dry periods. So these are the ones that you have in your residue release. This is how many we overloaded. Most people, if you look at what Nutrien's done over time with Accomplish, they just keep watering down the product. I used to be a part of that industry. I know it pretty well. So we have built this thing to have the most active bugs in the jug. So.
And most guys are relying on the nitrogen portion to do majority of the breakdown process.
Right.
But we're not requiring that at all.
We'll get into more of that too. Thank you. When we get to the Q&A. So all that comes down to this. There's 4 benefits and value propositions at the farm. First of all, at our price point, without nitrogen, we should be the best value, or at least in that same arena. But we're going to hang our hat on a 3-to-1 return on investment minimum, and we break it down. How will this make me money? So what? Well, there's 4 ways we're going to talk about it. One is just getting rid of residue. Stronger stands, fewer skips. One skip, we're going to say, is $25 an acre. Five bushels is a skip, and we were always taught that. We'll bring out some of that data. We'll show you some detailed data on the nutrient availability. We're starting to get lots of positive yield data. We have some third-party material we're still waiting to get. We'll send that. We have some today. But more nutrients available early. We are seeing a yield response from that. And then less tillage required. A lot of our minimum till folks have been doing a Salford or a vertical till in the fall and again in the spring. And bottom line is, if you can do 1 versus 2, which we have, I think we could probably find over 100 people to testify to that you can save a pass. And according to Iowa State, that's $18 a pass. And I think that was with old diesel prices, not today's prices. The last one is soil health. We're going to show you that we have a metric there on a 75% of the time, we're getting between a 3 and a 5% increase in organic matter. How you train it, put that into money, I don't know. Depends on the carbon deal. I'm not going to go into that, but we are seeing it. We'll see how we can monetize that as we go forward. So let's talk about the first one. We're claiming $39. We're seeing pictures like this all over the place. You're going to get from using this product. And we basically have this data to lock into. So when we had 19 of these locations, we had a lot, we did have variability on P, about 11 parts per million increase. And it was between a 23 and 64% win rate. And we took a middle ground on that at $19. We are seeing variability on how much biological activity was in the soil. It's a very low biological activity. Tougher soils, we're seeing better results. I will say that.
When I look at these bullet points, and you look at the price of today's dry fertilizer goods, guys aren't gonna be applying more than their fertilizer removal from last year or even under. So they're really gonna need to lean on this if they're gonna go for high yielding crops for next year. And then I don't know anybody who says they have enough organic matter, but
That's one of our highest win rates, and then zinc. Zinc is really shown up well, but then the farmer says, I don't care, I want to see yield. I hear that a lot, even though we have this data. I hear, come back later when you have yield. Let me see what the combine says. Because I sell corn. I don't sell your baloney, Rob. Okay. So I think it's somebody on the phone may have helped us with this. We hope to have about 30 or 40 of these by the end of the month. This is a side-by-side done by you all, Cherokee County, Iowa. This is corn, the product in the fall, and then soybeans planted. And really exciting results on beans here. You saw 3.6 bushel average on the data we've got 6 we pulled together so far. And on soybean following corn, we're seeing about a 3.6 bushel response. And that's pretty strong. That with very little data, you can play any data game you want, right? It's really about the range of data. And in the data we have on this, it's tight. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll continue to communicate more. This is next several slides are, we hired a third party DPH to go out and conduct tissue samples as well as soil tests. Most of these were in spring applied. Okay. Most of these were spring applied. I think all of these were spring applied, the next several. And we're seeing increases across the board in organic phosphates. We're seeing increases in zinc. We're seeing increases in potassium. Seeing an increase in phos in the tissue tests. So more plant movability. We're seeing increases in nitrogen in the tissue test. We think that's because of the NH4 and we're not leaching. Mm-hmm. We're seeing an increase in sulfur in the tissue test. And that ends the piece on the value proposition. Mr. Farmer, we think residue release can give you a 3-to-1. One way we do that is nutrient release, managing nutrients. We just walk through the data points on why to believe and some yield data, and we'll continue to bolster that yield data. Anything that you're seeing out there that you'd add?
The only thing I could think of is, who do we target with this? Who's the first guys we go after?
Corn on corn, I love. I think potatoes following corn. I think cotton following corn.
No till.
With reduced tillage.
I think of manure users too, guys who are applying manure, that phosphorus has to be converted over to a form that can be took up. And then also if they're using sawdust for bedding, we can break that down as well.
Yeah, you're up in that dairy country. You live there.
Yeah, when I was in Iowa too with the hog farms.
As most of you know, I'm a big strip till advocate. I know the strip till market and strip tilling soybeans into after corn. A lot of the strip tillers are having trouble getting their soybean head down low enough to be able to, because the stocks are there, tire wear. So just on harvestability in that strip till market. So those are, and then the place where I'm extremely excited about this, if you're into it, is the cover crop market. There's parts of the world that's growing at a great rate, and there's part of the world that have gone away from it because it hurts yields. We think this product will be able to terminate a cover crop. You mix 12.8 ounces with whatever you're going to be using to kill that cover crop, glyphosate, whatever, and we're going to be able to chew up that stuff as it dies and reduce that disease pressure and cycle those nutrients into the crop to act almost like a starter effect in 60 to 90 days. Now, we'll get into some places it doesn't work. in the Q&A, in the questions in the FAQ section we created. But, if we have rain, we have a little bit of moisture, it does eat stalks. I think that's been fairly well documented. So who cares? What does that mean? So on this, back to the less tillage, we're trying to get to one less pass. Obviously, if a guy's clean till, to your point,
Yeah.
if the gentleman's out there and his family are turning everything black because grandpa needs something to do in the fall, which it's hard to sell through, it's hard to get that result. Double crop soybeans is another favorite for us. Huge success on wheat stubble. But anyway, if we're in a minimum till and we got somebody going with a couple of vertical till passes, that's where we really see the less tillage required.
The other thing I think of, especially as you move into the specialty crop world, sugar beets, area where we have a ton of compaction, putting that out there too for a little bit of soil health and kind of help aerate and loosen up that ground back again.
All right, so we got nutrients, we got less tillage. I'm bringing back the skips, 14%, 2 to 5 bushels. We know that's there. We already covered that. Improve soil health. So if we got less skips, we have one less trip. Now, if they're no-till, that's not a value because I'm not making the trip anyway. So it depends on the operation, right? So now we're in this improved soil health active carbon. We know we're getting more active carbon. We know we're seeing an increase that's why I had that back in there. I wanted to remind this right here. It's our highest win rate between 0.3 and 0.5, 73% of the time. Is actually the piece that is there a lot. And we all know organic matter is a value and why, we have this organic carbon and we're able to improve that with the use of this product. So in summary, we're improved soil contact, we have better stands, reduced passes, we have more available nutrient, we're low use rate, and we have a carrier system that will actually allow you not to have to use nitrogen and give you the best shot of getting what you paid for on the target.
With live bugs.
Yes,
That's
they're alive.
the biggest driver right there.
So take the con here, my friend. We're going to do some common questions on this. Here's a lot of questions. I have to go off of, there we go.
Presentation mode.
Yeah.
So first question, do I need nitrogen? We covered this a little bit earlier. No, with our microbial strain in there already, this can be a standalone product.
Now, if you really want to put it, there is no tank mix compatibility issue,
Yes,
right?
but it can be added.
Okay. Some guys will want to do it regardless of the value prop, and that's okay.
Can I tank mix this with herbicides? Yes, and the first thing I think of is that surfactant load that is in there.
Absolutely.
I don't know how to spell
That's
surfactant
all
right now,
Sorry.
but do some nitrogen stabilizers kill bacteria? That is going to be where we're going to drive here in a little bit, but that is a big yes. There is a lot of companies out there with DCDs, other products that are killing microbes, and that's where the Streamline is going to add in another option of layering in that will not kill the bacteria.
So if you're going to put a biological out, why in the world would you use a stabilizer that hurts it? So we'll get into that later. That's right. What happens if it doesn't rain?
So they will not be, they won't die. That's the biggest thing. We're not going to get the activation. We're not going to get that 11 to 30, 60 day response that we would be really happy to see. But that being said, once we do get a rain, it will reactivate those microbes, and you will start seeing that synthetic kick in.
I was in Hinton, Iowa. I walked a field, several fields in that area. It did not rain. It did not rain more than like a half an inch from harvest to May. And the activity wasn't great. When it started to rain, it greatly improved. Now, here's why. Told you about those microbes and their ability to handle stress, where they've come from, how they were found. What I would like people to do, if you can get them to do it, I would be happier in a dry environment if they would go to 20 gallons to the acre. and turn up the PSI so we can get those microbes into the pith with enough moisture for them to get a bit of a start. Although a lot of farmers go tell me to pound sand because I don't have anybody to tender me that much. So it will work at 10 gallons, but in a dry area, 10 gallons is on the text sheet, 10 is fine. But if I'm in a dry concern area and I want to get these guys started, I would ask them if they have the ability to increase the gallons per acre out there. So,
You want to cover the airplane or?
yeah,
pivot?
yeah. Can I put this out with an airplane or pivot? You bet. Yes. The one thing about airplane is you're probably not going to get more than 2 or 3 gallons to the acre. I'd feel better on that environment if you airplane it on to run the pivot around if there is one. But just know that moisture, that carrier will work. It's just going to need some rains to get it fully activated.
And guys, I like to think about it a lot like applying Roundup. You need heat and you need moisture. That's what's going to really activate this product. So that kind of ties into, if it freezes, will the microbes work? They will go dormant. And then once they reach the heat index again, they will reactivate.
We have seen, we got some more data there. I put this one out there while you type. Why is residue release better than extract? Nutrien is outselling the extract very aggressively right now, which I think is fantastic. They're selling it in combination with their a custom application, kind of hiding the price. So, one of the challenges we have for fall application is I don't want to get my sprayer out. Get that. The product works fantastic in an early spring as well. Obviously, the more time you have, the better. I think it feels like common sense to everybody on that piece. So extract is a product from Nutrien, the largest agribusiness company out here. They use a technology in theirs called Accomplish. Their CFU guarantee and the label's a little sketchy, and they're a very high use rate. So if I was going to go head to head against that product, I would say, hey, what's the use rate? And tell me about the label and how it works. And then I would position the microbilize or the carrier system that you have in residue release as the key benefit of having a more effective. Or if they're willing to do it, heck, I'd love to go side by side against extract. I know we'll win. So,
Will residue release kill my growing crop? And the answer there is no. It's only going to treat the dead carbon. So that's where you're going to see, well, and I love this story, you can put it on your lawn and it's going to eat the thrash out of your lawn because that's already what's dead. And you're going to have a more lush green colored lawn.
yeah. So we'll keep going here. Can I use residue release in the spring? Absolutely. Please do. How long does breakdown occur?
I'm going to add to that spring.
Yeah, go.
A lot of guys are running out of gas on nutrition at that V7 to V10 timing point on our corn. And so I think when we apply this in the spring, we're going to have that delayed release effect, and we're going to add more groceries at that later date. And then we're going to have crops that are going to be truly synthesizing and not cannibalizing and robbing old vegetation. And I think we're going to see a really big yield
Absolutely.
kick from that.
I know we've seen it in double crop soybeans. I'm excited to show them when we get the data. How long does breakdown occur? If it's not raining and it's super cold, it's going to take a while. If we've got moisture and a little heat, we've seen it as fast as 3 weeks. It all depends.
How can we measure if the residue has been broken down, if the microbes eat from the inside out?
You got to go out there and kick them and break them and demonstrate that a coulter from a planter will cut through the treated area, and then where the baseball bats are, it won't go through. We better speed this up a little bit. Yes, to wheat stubble. What are spore forming microbes and why should I care? I think we covered that. They're durable microbes, but more importantly, They are carried in your patented system that gets those spores to the location where they can start to breed. Our nutrients cycled back out of crab, more available, more. When nitrogen is cycled, broke down and released from corn store, what form is it in? NH4, ammonium. That's a big deal. We all know that the other forms of nitrogen are more mobile and can leach. Okay. I just got a reminder from my friend Paul that we're 15 minutes in left, actually more like 10. So I want to be respectful to everybody's time. We can hit this again on the front of the next meeting we have. We're building the foundation. So we've got residue release out. We've broken down whatever residues there. We've released nitrogen into the soil faster, and other nutrients, and we've got a better stand. Now, what else do we have in our arsenal to help folks? Nitrogen stabilizers. I worked on the launch of Agritane in 1997. So these have been around since Moby Dick is a minnow, and they still only have about 35 to 40% share. So the number one opportunity in this market is still the untreated acre. But there's a lot of people that are out there using products, and we're going to go through a competitive review here. Let me see if I can go here. Nope, I just closed myself out. There we go. You've got two products. You got a below ground product and a dual action product. NCase. Our differentiation is going to be cost. It's going to be low use rate treating the nitrogen itself. And it is a calcium nitrate based product with polymers that do not kill bacteria and doesn't eat the rubber out of your anhydrous bar and hard on equipment. We have data that will show a 40% decrease in leaching. Everybody knows there's two ways to leach nitrogen, lose nitrogen, either leaching or volatilization. This product is a leaching product. We'll get to the other one. This is to keep nitrogen in the root zone. It creates a place through this calcium nitrate and the other ingredients. You can see we have ammonium thiosulfate in here. We have polymer. This polymer right here is very similar to ones you'll see on other labels. Again, most people won't tell you what's in these. Some will, some won't. And this calcium polymers are able to provide I call it a hanger, a place on the soil core, the right place for this nitrogen that you treat to stay where it needs to be. I'm going to speed up. You've got a dual action product. This is the addition. Very similar product to the first, but now we can stop the volatilization. There's a naturally occurring enzyme that's everywhere called urease. So NBPT is actually a urease inhibitor. It's been around forever. It's NBPT, VCD are the two largest market share products. NBPT is basically how well you can buy it from China. We do a really good job on that collectively. And it absolutely has been in several universities been proven to stop urease from working and then stop the volatilization. And one thing that you have here, most people don't even give you a guarantee analysis. Some do. We're a 20% guaranteed analysis of the product, which means it lasts longer. So people say, I don't need it. It's going to rain. So this is for surface applied nitrogen of any form. So when it's surface applied, you're going to basically be able to stop that urease, stop the volatilization for 15 to 20 days. And then if it gets a rain event, we have the other component of the mode of action similar to the one we just spoke of to keep the nitrogen in the root zone. So those are your two products. I've heard Paul has shared with us, there's a lot of questions. NServe has been around. When you're selling this below ground, obviously you've got to get it in an anhydrous tank. So you can use an NServe pump. Corteva won't like it, but you can. You need a way to pump the product into the anhydrous tank, or you need to have a farmer that has their own surefire injection system on their toolbar. That's your market there. But here's some products that have been, that you might have seen and what they are. A lot of them are the same thing. A lot of confusion. Was yours the same as mine? Here's what you can pretty much be sure of. If they're Corteva driven, they're going to have Instinct or N-Serve, and that is nitropyrin. There's very few people that like nitropyrin. It comes in a stainless steel tote because it will eat about anything. It's not a nice product.
Very corrosive.
So the people that use that are probably looped into getting more rebates from their Corteva program. Those are easy to beat. That's why there's been a proliferation of NBPT, DCD mixtures. There's hundreds of them. It's after patent. Everybody's got one. We're different because we've used a calcium polymer with the NBPT, and we use the calcium polymer in place of the DCD. So DCD is a diamide or DCD. It basically stops it stops and kills the bacteria that break down and cause nitrogen to leach through the soil. And you'll hear people say, it doesn't kill that many bacteria. It's only close to the seed, or where that nitrogen band in. Well, that's exactly where I don't want to kill the bacteria. So you have a improved product than DCD. NBPT works. It's the standard for volatilization. So that's the definitions I think you were looking for, Paul. Here's some of the other products you'll see in the market: Factor, Agritane from Coke, Centuro from Coke. I think Endure was from Hefty's. Hefty's also makes some claims on nitrogen stabilizer on some of their fertilizers with sulfur. Then you'll see this Anvil out here too. So you can be very, very, very confident that you've got a superior product, better value proposition, healthier on bacteria and microbes than 90% of the market. So with that, I think I've covered these points. We can definitely show some advantage with these products used side by side. The NCase dual action is really your side dress and wide drop opportunity, big opportunity, because we don't have to deal with the retailer selling the anhydrous. Here's some other picks you can get through. We can impregnate on the dry prill. Again, that's going to be harder to break into for obvious reasons. So we have the right technology to manage this nitrogen. We have residue release. It's going to get you an NH4. They work great together. It's a great story. For next time, we're going to talk a lot about tune-up plus corn and beans and hopefully sorghum. We're working on that and how they two work together. And I would be remiss if we didn't help the farmer that's spraying their own crops to use the right adjuvant. So if guys are going out in the fall and they're burned down weeds, let's make sure we get a drift control so we get the optimum deposition droplet size to cover. And Paul and team, we are right up against our hour.
We are, and Taylor and Rob, thank you very much for sharing those insights with us today. And thank you to everyone that joined here today. We really appreciate you tuning in. I will circulate a link. It'll probably be later this week once we get a chance to clean up the presentation a little bit. So be looking for that in your inbox. Just a reminder, future webinars, our next one will be November 1st at 8 o'clock Central, where we'll talk about establishing early strength. The third one will be November 22nd. That's optimizing in-season genetics. And then we will focus on December 13th on this adjuvant line. So again, we don't have any questions that have come in by chat. If you do have follow-up questions, send me an email and we'll get somebody to contact you. Give me a call, give your Rob Seco DSM or RSM a call. And then we also have the technical service agronomists that can support us with questions and answers and in the field. So with that, again, thank you for joining today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.